The top stories: the Oromo people colorfully observe Irrecha 2021 festival here in Addis Ababa. And UN insider provides evidence of bias of officials of the UN taking sides in Ethiopia's 10-month-old conflict. Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. To stay with us. President Sahle-Work Zewde discussed with African Union High Representative for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, on ways of maintaining peace in the region. Regarding the discussion, President Sahle-Work Zewde said there is always a window of opportunity for a peaceful political solution to any armed conflict that should never be closed. The president added that the discussion was fruitful, calling him an experienced peacemaker. The United Nations Security Council has held on Friday emergency closed consultations on Tigray's humanitarian crisis and expulsion order, but took no action. Several countries have shown grave concern about the grave violations of aid workers subject to persona non grata and said the issue needs closer scrutiny before issuing a statement. The urgent closed session of the UN came after the Ethiopian government ordered the expulsion of 7 UN aid workers. Friday's statement from Ethiopia's foreign ministry echoed the government's earlier accusations that humanitarian workers are supporting the Tigray forces, which have been fighting in its soldiers and allied forces since November. Other grave violations by UN staff listed by the foreign ministry on Friday were violating security arrangements, transferring communications equipment to be used by Tigray forces, dissemination of misinformation and politicization of humanitarian assistance, and reticence in pressing for the return of trucks used in aid deliveries. Ethiopia's government alleged the trucks are commandeered by Tigray forces. Humanitarian workers have said instead that truck drivers fear further intimidation upon leaving Tigray and that there is little fuel. A UN insider provides evidence of bias of officials of the UN taking sides in Ethiopia's 11-month-old conflict. A number of UN agencies and other international non-governmental organizations need to deliver humanitarian assistance based on UN principles, according to the insider.
In Ethiopia, the UN is delivering life-saving aid, including food, medicine, water, and sanitation supplies.
Amidst a complicated environment for aid operations as a result of continued fighting in the state of Tigray, there were accusations and counter-accusations relating to atrocities against civilians and their free flow of humanitarian aid. The UN and NGOs have been caught in the crossfire of this acrimony. On 3rd of August 2021, the Ethiopian government labeled accusation of bias against aid agencies, citing the case of the Norwegian Refugee Council and Médecins Sans Frontières that it said have been disseminating misinformation on social media and other platforms outside of the mandate and purpose of which organizations were permitted to operate. Some activists would, for example, refer to a picture that went spiral on social media showing a TPLF spokesperson, Getachew Reda, using a satellite phone apparently belonging to a World Food Program staffer who stood by his side in the photo. Many Ethiopian UN staffers are working closely on the crisis that accompanied the war in Tigray, talks of an overall bias among international aid agency workers. Surprisingly, most other African UN staff also tended to share this view of bias predominantly among staff of aid agencies that are of Western or European origins. They would tell you that World Health Organization, United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, World Food Program, and the International Organization for Migration staff came from their respective headquarters with preconceived ideas of the crisis that are not often in sync with the reality on the ground. However, these Ethiopian and African staffers are afraid to go in the open to make such a statement, and even worse, to present evidence to that effect for the fear of reprisals. Nobody wants us to lose a UN job, they opted. In the spirit of providing evidence, an Aid Insider shows how some UN staff played a role in misrepresenting facts about the humanitarian crisis in Tigray. Some UN agencies are confusing the international community by releasing inappropriate information. The information gathered relates to the three most important highlights of the crisis, namely 5.2 million people are in need of aid, 2 million people have been displaced, and at least 400,000 people are in condition approximating famine. The Health Cluster Coordination is a humanitarian intervention arrangement that is led by World Health Organization in partnership with the Ethiopian government and with the participation of other UN agencies and national NGOs.
In Ethiopia, the UN is delivering life-saving aid, including food, medicine, water, and sanitation supplies to people in desperate need. We are now engaging with the government of Ethiopia in the expectation that the concerned UN staff will be allowed to continue their important work.
The cluster generates data on people in need of health service and devises ways of targeting them. The cluster has had a national coordination and a sub-national team in the Tigray region that is supported by experts in the country and regional offices. In January 2021, the cluster estimated the people in need to be 2.8 million based on globally approved methodology and data availed by other agencies, including UN offices of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The UN offices staffs are coming with mistrust mission about the Tigray conflict as well as its negative impact. Even the numbers of needy segments are differing from the actual number in the region. The data on people in farming conditions resulted from the report of the FAO-hosted Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, whose Farming Review Committee confirms that there is clear evidence to support the Ethiopian analysis team finding that roughly 400,000 people are acutely food insecure in IPC Phase 5. Ethiopia refused to work with the project under the TPLF-led government, and the IPC managed to operate in the country with a single international staff only after the political transition in mid-2018. The rules of UN requires political neutrality, but as the above examples show, those rules do not seem to have been followed strictly at the highest level. In fact, one would be surprised to read the tweets and news feeds of the World Health Organization Director General on Facebook and Twitter on the situation in Tigray. The UN, as well as other organizations in the humanitarian community, should look into their practice and the conduct of their staff to make sure that the core value of neutrality is maintained at all times.
Welcome back. Former Colorado State Congressman Joe Miclosi says Ethiopia's declaration of persona non grata on some NGO workers is a healthy decision to help fend off some dark actors infiltrating the nation in the name of humanitarian work. He has also called on the diaspora community to play constructive roles for the success of Ethiopia's new government by exerting significant pressures on the Biden administration. Shifarao Lago has interviewed him and filed the following report.
Despite the fact that there are important NGO workers toiling for the good of nations across the globe, there are some ill actors with hidden agendas. And the government of Ethiopia had to declare a persona non grata against such double agents for meddling in the internal affairs of the country, pushing them to leave the country within 72 hours. ETV approached Joe Miclosi, who was the former Colorado representative and international development executive, for his views on the measure taken. He says the move is healthy, as some NGO workers are bad actors in the name of good work.
Now, what I think is interesting is I know there's a healthy skepticism by some for the international development community to come in and work on, healthcare systems, strengthening projects, food security projects, and other things to eradicate poverty. I've devoted a third of my career to working in that sector. On a side note, I used to work for 8 years for an amazing NGO or nonprofit organization called Project Cure that actually helped equip over 100 hospitals with life-saving medical supplies and medical equipment in hospitals throughout the country of Ethiopia, from Gondor to Addis to all over. And again, that was just Americans dealing with Ethiopians to provide hospital beds and other necessary items. So I know firsthand there's a lot of good work that gets done within the Ethiopian community by the NGO community. Having said all that, I know there's a healthy skepticism that there are some dark actors that might be using NGOs to try to infiltrate Ethiopia.
Regarding the formation of the new government in Ethiopia, he has called on the diaspora communities to play a constructive role by tapping into their huge potential.
First of all, I want to say that any diaspora community, but especially the Ethiopian American diaspora community, has power. As a former elected official, I'm a former state congressman from the state of Colorado. And I'm telling you, when you represent hundreds of thousands of people, when you go to town hall meetings and talk to individuals, they have power, especially when they're coalescing and grouping together. As the old adage states, there's strength in numbers. I've been so impressed working with many of the 750,000 Ethiopian Americans in all 50 states in the United States of America that make up the Ethiopian American Civic Council that the great Deacon Yosef Tafari co-founded and is the current president of. And I've seen as they work in all the congressional districts, in all the states to influence United States senators, there's incredible power that this diaspora community has here in the United States to influence the Biden administration on things like AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act, and how Ethiopia should remain in it, as well as influence members of Congress, even those that don't serve on a foreign relations committee, because these members of Congress and the Biden administration do pay attention. They may not always agree, but it does influence their way of thinking.
Miclosi has also advised Ethiopian government officials to make the best out of Ethiopian untapped diversity in order to create a more inclusive national economy.
Ethiopia and 29 other countries deliver UN statement against sanctions. The statement, delivered through China's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Zhang Jun, shows grave concern about the use of unilateral coercive measures against developing countries, which run counter to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international law, multilateralism, and the basic norms of international relations. The group of countries reaffirmed that everyone was born with equal rights. Unilateral coercive measures deprive the affected population of the full realization of their human rights, hinder their well-being and social welfare, in particular women, children, youth, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. As COVID-19 continues to impose severe impacts on economic and social development in all countries, especially in developing countries, all member states need to address the pandemic through a global response based on unity, solidarity, and international cooperation, the remarks added. Ethiopia's South Regional State has formed its new government on Saturday. The Southern Nations, Nationalities and Peoples Regional Council has elected Risto Yirdaw as regional chief. Risto Yirdaw was serving as deputy state chief before the new appointment by the council. Southern Nations, Nationalities and Peoples Regional Council has appointed 3 higher officials from opposition political parties. The special Thanksgiving festival of the Oromo people, Irrecha, has been colorfully and peacefully observed here in Addis Ababa. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed extended congratulatory message upon the celebration of Irrecha festival, dubbing it an epitome of resilience and transformation towards a brighter future. Celebrants of the festival also expressed the need to maintain such social values. Alula Taklamariam tells you more.
The special Thanksgiving festival of the Oromo people, Irrecha, has been colorfully and peacefully observed here in Addis Ababa Saturday. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed extended congratulatory message upon the peaceful completion of the festival. The Premier said Irrecha is a festival of resilience and transformation towards a brighter future. He also appreciated Ethiopian ancestors for preserving and passing on Irrecha to generations, citing it as astounding cultural values of the Oromo people. Meanwhile, Adanech Abebe, mayor of the Addis Ababa city, praised security forces, participants of the festival and others who contributed to the successful conclusion of the festival. Adanech said the festival concluded in a way that manifested the spirit of brotherhood and unity among communities.
መከበር ከጀመረ ለሶስተኛ ጊዜ ነው የዚህን ያህል ህዝብ ግን ወጥቶ አያውቅም
Today's Irrecha celebration at the Hora Finfinne was much colorful and peaceful compared to the previous 2 festivals. Irrecha has been celebrated for a 3rd time here in Addis Ababa, and this one concluded in a way that manifested the spirit of brotherhood and unity among communities. All security personnel and other stakes deserve gratitude for discharging their responsibilities in doing so.
ከዚህ ዓመት በላይ እጅግ በጣም ከፍ ባለ ድምጽ ህዝብ እየደገፈ አብሮን የቆመበት ጊዜ አለ ማለት ያስቸግራል።
Celebrants of the festival also expressed the need to maintain such social values, describing Irrecha as follows.
Irrecha means peace and unity. It is an identity of the Oromo people. We thank God for bestowing us such a wonderful culture. We are celebrating it here in Hora Finfinne after so many years. Today's Irrecha celebration is unique. We haven't faced any challenges. We have reached here peacefully, and the celebration is peaceful. Having completed this festival, we will proceed to Bishoftu to attend similar event.
ኢሬቻ በመሰረቱ በምስጋና ዕለት ነው ምስጋና የምናቀርብበት ነው
Irrecha is basically the Thanksgiving Day. People thank their God for witnessing a seasonal change, a transition from rainy to dry season. It is a way where people practice charity, togetherness, and reconciliation.
Abagedas or male leaders, Hadasinkes or female leaders of the community, and various segments of the community drawn from different zones of the Oromia region. Residents of Addis Ababa and Finfinne Special Zone have congregated at Hora Finfinne for the celebration.
In a related story, members of the Abba Geda, the traditional Oromo leaders who attended Irrecha festival, suggested on the importance of maintaining Irrecha values and handing it over to the generations to come. Take a look.
This is really astonishing. Irrecha is the identity of the Oromo people. Irrecha is the manifestation of peace, love, development, and togetherness. It also has a great social bond that brings people with different backgrounds together and live in harmony.
Irrecha
means peace and peaceful coexistence. It is a way where the Oromo people send thanks to the Almighty Creator of the universe, or God, for giving the rains, fertility in the past months, and then transforming the people to the already started brighter season with various rituals such as holding grasses, flowers, and leaves, and chanting around the water, which is considered as source of everything. Irrecha is to mean that peace, reconciliation, and love among people. Irrecha has a great value among the Oromo people. It is branded a unique consideration, so it has to be maintained and protected well.
And finally, scholars said cultural heritage like Irrecha deserve further protections and promotions to expand economic opportunities of the country. Exclusively talking to ETV English, they call upon stakeholders to play share in maintaining Ethiopian cultural values like Irrecha, meant to ensure peace and unity. Irrecha, the Thanksgiving of the Oromo people, is being observed this weekend, accompanied with assortment of events. Alula Teklamariam reports.
Ethiopia is blessed with a number of tangible and intangible heritages and resources. The cultural and spiritual festival of the Ethiopian people are eye-catching and magnificent celebrations. The Thanksgiving festival of the Oromo people, Irrecha, is observed every October, signaling a seasonal change, a season with a hope for bounty harvesters following the rain season. Irrecha has significant value among the Oromo people. Dressed in black, red, and white traditional regalia, they flock to lakes and rivers to attend the event. Scholars whom ETV approached expressed the need to maintain Irrecha for ensuring peace and unity.
Irrecha is a very important institution, especially in bringing peace and security, so that it has to be promoted. Not only promotion, but it has to be lived. People should live according to the principles and rules and the regulations and norms of Irrecha. Not only coming to Irrecha ceremony and the singing, but also members of the society should internalize and they show, live with these values.
Irrecha is a profound foundation of peace, because in Irrecha, the grand value is the peace. When human beings are peace with each other, they will be peace with nature. Okay? So they will be in harmony with natural environment. When they are in harmony with natural environment, they will be peaceful with the supernatural power, with the God. So that is why the Oromo have this grass in their hand, and they come to the riverside, and then they make a thanksgiving. That is where nature, the God and the human being unify.
They also underscored its economic values if well promoted.
The other perspective is that we have to use this Irrecha ceremony for us as a tourist attraction without harming its traditional value. We can celebrate it nationally, we can celebrate it regionally, we can also attract different tourists. You see, maybe before a week we have celebrated Mescal. Now we are celebrating Irrecha. We can link these two very important Ethiopian celebrations, heritage, to use in its economic benefits.
National festivals like this attract many people from different parts of the world. Yeah. So people come to see the diversity of cultures, the diversity of values, material cultures, different things. So this is another way to say it's a means of generating income. So if these kinds of festival become strengthened, and if they become well managed, it is a huge means of foreign currency.
Meanwhile, it is accentuated that activities are underway to include moral values like Irrecha in the curriculum system.
Currently, we are doing curriculum revision in general education. So we have included two important things. One is our curriculum framework should have what we call indigenous knowledge. So like Gada is one of the indigenous knowledge. The Oromia Regional Education Bureau decided to teach Gada as indigenous knowledge. Maybe the Amhara and the Tigrayan in the future may decide to teach Giz as indigenous knowledge. So at the federal level we have made this framework change. The other one is we have introduced what we call moral education. The moral education may also have some values, actually not only from Irrecha or Gada, but also some important values that different cultures of Ethiopia. So moral value education or moral education focuses on moral values, so that Ministry of Education is doing its best to capture and socialize with Ethiopian cultures and the values.
Irrecha, which is part of the UNESCO registered Gada system, is celebrated at the Hora Finfinne, the Mescal Square, and the next day is observed in Bishoftu Hora Arsadi.
You're watching Addis News Hour. A quick reminder of the day's headlines. The Oromo people colorfully observe Irrecha 2021 festival here in Addis Ababa. And UN Insider provides evidence of bias of officials of the UN taking sides in Ethiopia's 11-month-old conflict. And that's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha Germany. Thanks for watching. Have a good time.